What is up, guys? It's Alex the Magician here, back for a new Heroes 3 gameplay video. And in this one, I'm gonna be talking about my top 8 creatures with special abilities. So we're just gonna be discussing and demonstrating these special abilities, and I'll, just kind of talk about why they're good and, discuss in which cases you can actually use them and how they work. So, mostly I'm going to be talking about abilities that are from creatures that are not neutral. So, things like enchanters and fairy dragons and whatnot. We're not going to talk about them because in most cases you cannot get them in, maps like Jebba's Cross. But the first two, I will actually discuss a couple of interesting neutral creature abilities that are not that well known. So something you guys may not know, and it's actually not that difficult to get these creatures. So these two are the nomads and the rogues. So you can get them in a lot of cases from refugee camps. If you have diplomacy, you can also get them pretty easily because they're not really powerful creatures. And what they give you, so the nomads actually give you the ability to sand walk, which means walk across desert or sand terrain without penalty, as if you had pathfind boots, basically, or pathfinding. So as you can see here, I'll just demonstrate it really quickly. We have Erdemon, who to take 3 steps over here costs him 450 moves, right? He doesn't have the nomads on him, and all we got to do is just put them on. And now it only costs 300 moves, right? So pretty easy, pretty interesting to have. I actually learned this not too long ago after I basically got them in a refugee camp, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. You can actually utilize these in the desert. So what you got to do for this to work is just have at least a 1 stack of them in your army, right? So you would basically just kind of pass these across as you would Pathfind boots or wings. You need to have these in your army or on that particular hero for that hero to not suffer the terrain penalty. All right, and the other one that's kind of interesting is the Rogue's Spying. So essentially what it does is it gives you the ability to have expert visions. So as you can see right here, I'm not able to tell any information about the creatures because I have not cast visions or anything yet. And if I just put rogues in my army, that hero will be able to see information like whether these guys want to join or not, etc., or if they want to run away, the exact numbers. And of course, this does still depend on spell power. So as you can see over here, I am not able to see the information about these black dragons. Well, if I put on the SOJ here, I will, since that increased my spell power, and visions are increased by, the radius is increased by your spell power, right? So pretty cool, pretty interesting abilities that you guys may not know. These can save you mana, and of course the sandwalking can save you moves. All right, now we're going to move on to abilities of, actual creatures from different factions, which you likely will be able to utilize in actual games, right? And not depend on luck whether or not you can diplo these guys or, get them in a refugee camp. Alright, so I think the first one that I'll show you guys is the Archangel's Resurrection. So a really useful one, essentially it works exactly as the Resurrection spell. What you gotta remember is that one Archangel can resurrect 100 hit points. So if you're resurrecting Archangels that have 250 health, you need a stack of at least 3 Archangels to be able to resurrect one Archangel. So they can do this, each stack of Archangels can resurrect once per fight, and these creatures do remain after combat, right? So I'll just demonstrate this really quickly. So you see auto combat over here loses 3 Archangels. And I think that actually if we play this fight properly, we probably wouldn't even need to use the resurrect ability. But just for the sake of argument, okay. Just for the sake of demonstration, pretend that we lost something, right? And you see here, I'm careful to still keep 3 Archangels in a stack, right? Okay, it's actually getting a little bit close over here. I think we'll still be fine. Okay, and now I can basically use the Archangels to resurrect each other, right? And this is essentially how you can fight in a real game situation when you do get Archangels as castle. Like if you go to Utopias, you can resurrect, you can bring something as meat in Utopias, even if you don't have that many Archangels, and then use the Archangels to resurrect the meat, minimize your losses, and, in any fights to actually do on Archangels. This is why a lot of people split their Archangels into 2 stacks, right? So that those Archangels can resurrect one another like this. So you see here, we did not lose anything even on a 0/0 hero, right? So pretty cool ability to have. Definitely one of the better ones in the game. If you can utilize this properly, you can do, Archangels are just ridiculous, right? They're super strong, they're super fast, and they can resurrect one another. So what more can you ask for? All right, so the next one that I'm going to demonstrate is Genie Buffs. And these are, you can utilize these with Tower, or, if you happen to get Master Genies as any other town, but Tower really relies on these, I would say. So this is a spell casting effect. You cast beneficial spells on an allied stack, and these range, this can be any beneficial spell. It ranges from like Shield and Haste and Bloodlust to all the way to Magic Mirror. Only the spells will be cast at advanced level, not expert level. But and each genie gets 3 casts per battle. And usually what you would do is you would make as many Genie 1 stacks as possible, and then just do your best to kind of shoot whatever you can down. And just utilize whatever you have, whatever army you have, to the best of your ability, which can really mean that you can do much tougher fights than you can normally. Like here, you can see there's this 66 golems with an upgraded stack, and all we have are 3 genies plus our day 1 stack of gremlins. This would definitely not be possible without the Genie Buffs here. And see, basically all we do is just utilize these stacks to kite, and as long as we have the buffs, we cast those on the gremlins. Technically, this fight may even be possible even without the Genie Buffs, if you just kite them properly. But, as you see with an upgraded stack, it could be a little bit more difficult because it moves faster than everything else, right? So I definitely prefer to do fights like this with upgraded stacks. But especially when you're fighting something that doesn't get morale, or you have an anti-morale artifact, this kind of stuff usually becomes really easy. And, fighting something like golems is pretty nice because they do give you a good amount of experience. Something like earth elementals are fine as well. Other like water elementals are usually good, as long as they are not too as long as there's no upgraded stack usually. Okay. Now, this definitely takes a little bit of practice to get the hang of and, you know, kite the neutrals properly. But once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to do this just about every time. So yeah, Genie Buffs, really, really, really useful. See? 66 golems with an upgraded stack, no losses on a 0/0 Solmir, right? All right, real quick, I'll demonstrate one more here. So this is something that really is, you know, a very common ability. Very many creatures have this, but I think it is worth mentioning because it's kind of taken for granted in a lot of cases, and that is flying, right? So, you know, you really feel this when you really feel the benefits of flying when you don't have flying creatures. So really, whoops. Meant to actually not accept that fight so that I could demonstrate. The benefit of you know, flying is, for one, that you don't have to wait for castle walls to be broken down. You can get across terrain, you can get across something blocking you, etc., right? So here, for example, if these castle walls were not broken down, if this opponent still had castle, for example, and I only had walking units, I would lose a lot, right? Waiting for the walls to be broken down, unless I had, of course, ranged creatures or something as well. But if I just have a flying creature, you know, like even a few units, you know, I would lose a lot because the arrow towers would do a lot of damage. But if I have a flying creature, I just fly in and close the gap right away and kill them. So definitely one that I do like. All right, the next one that I'm going to demonstrate and talk about is going to be the double attack. So also somewhat of a common ability, but definitely worthwhile. So these are pretty nice. But you got to be careful to, you know, use them properly, right? So things like Wolf Raiders have them, Crusaders have them. You know, you also have ranged units like Marksmen and Elves that have the double attack, right? But I want to focus on the melee ones. So this demonstration of the Behemoth Crag I've done before, but the point that I want to kind of stress here is the fact that you really, like, double attack lets you do a lot of damage. However, you need to understand that if you do not kill whatever you're attacking on the first hit, you're going to be getting damage dealt back. So it's not like you add the damage from both of those attacks and calculate that as the damage that you're going to do, right? So in a lot of cases, especially with Wolf Raiders are super squishy if they take attacks, right? They hit really hard, but they're really squishy. So what you want to do is you want to take retaliation and really use those both attacks without having, you know, having to actually suffer that retaliation damage, right? And for that reason, I have the one Wolf Raider stack positioned before the main stack, so that on round 1, I take retaliation with a Hobgoblin. Round 2, I take retaliation with that Wolf Raider 1 stack, and so I basically get 2 double attacks with my main stack of Wolf Raiders for free, right? Without taking any damage back. And this way, you do the Behemoth Crag basically with only losing 1 Goblin and 1 Wolf Raider. Now, just to show you guys what would happen if you do not pay attention and you're not careful about this, right? So let's assume that I'm like, fuck it, you know, whatever, I'm just gonna attack, right? I'm just gonna attack with my main stack of Wolf Raiders. Well, there you go. We have 9 left after that retaliation, and we didn't even kill one. So at this point, we die, right? So that is why the difference between losing only 1 Wolf Raider and 1 Goblin and dying is, you know, forgetting to take retaliation and suffering retaliation on those stacks. So double attack, pretty cool, but remember that if you do not kill something from that first hit, it's best to take retaliation, right? All right, next we are going to talk about no retaliation. So this is a pretty cool ability that many things have, like devils, archdevils, nagas, magic elementals, psychic elementals, etc. Essentially, you do not, hydras also, essentially you don't take any damage when you attack, right? So the whatever you're fighting does not retaliate. So it allows you to do some pretty cool stuff. And in this one, I'll just demonstrate really quickly. This is a way to actually take churchyards with Inferno, or, you know, even if you are not Inferno, but just taking in 1 devil, right? This is kind of similar to XenoFX's tech of doing it on 1 angel, but you can also do this on 1 devil, because the devil just does not take retaliation, right? So we just kind of reposition them. We can ignore morale. You know, this can be done without morale. And this is kind of the configuration we're looking for. And now we can just wait. And we can just hit, reposition. Wait, hit, reposition. And that's it. You just continue to do this until all of the zombies are gone. They're not going to be retaliating, so no problem. And, you know, it's not going to take you more than 100 rounds. So, all right. Just for the sake of not taking too long, I'm just going to end this little demonstration here, but essentially you would just repeat this again and again until the zombies are dead. So pretty useful ability, and, you know, you can kind of abuse that no retaliation ability in a lot of other cases as well. So. All right, next we are going to talk about the Mighty Gorgon's Death Stare. Pretty cool ability. So the way it works is slightly confusing. You know, if you take a look at the wiki, it actually has this weird kind of description where every Gorgon in the stack has a 10% chance to cause Death Stare. Okay, so you think that one of them has a 10% chance. If you have more than 10, then you should have a 100% chance, right? But there's also this formula over here. There's this calculation that the percent chance to kill at least 1 creature is 1 minus 0.9 to the power of n, where n is the number of Mighty Gorgons in a stack. Basically what that means is that you never actually get to a 100% chance of killing anything. So let's say even 1 minus 0.9 to the 100th power, right? It is 0.999, so 99.99%, but still not quite 100, right? So what it does mean is that the higher the numbers of Mighty Gorgons, the higher percent chance you will have of actually causing that Death Stare. And also the way it works is that if you have less than 10 Mighty Gorgons, the most you can kill is 1 creature. More than 10 can kill 2, right? If you have more than 20, you can kill 3. So essentially it also has, you can only kill 1/10 or no more than 1/10 of the number of Mighty Gorgons in a stack rounded up, right? So again, if you have 10 or more, you can kill, more than 10, you can kill 2, more than 20, you can kill 3, etc., right? And I'll just demonstrate. Oh, and one more thing, this ability does not work on undead, but it does work on black dragons, which are magic immune, right? And one of my favorite ways of actually utilizing this is to utilize this on something really, really strong, like crystal dragons, for example. So you can see here, imagine you have a crystal dragon's break. You can do this on just this number of Mighty Gorgons, only 16 of them, right? So imagine maybe you find a Mighty Gorgon's box in your biomass fortress or something like that, or in the desert, and then, you know, you can do a fight like this, where normally you could have lost a decent amount to it. This 2/6 Alkin right here is going to be able to do this without really losing too much. So as you can see, out of 2 attacks, we got 3 death stares with this number of Gorgons. Out of 4 attacks, we got 3 death stares. So pretty good chances there, but again, yeah, it wasn't 100%, right? So you see, killing 3 crystal dragons, which is a pretty damn difficult fight, you know, even on this Alkin with 2/6 stats, even if we had like 30 Wyvern, we would have lost a decent amount of them. But here we only lost 4 Mighty Gorgons and our 1 stacks, so definitely an interesting ability to utilize. You can utilize this in Utopias, you know, but yeah, like really you probably get the highest value out of it by utilizing it on something like Crystal Dragons, Rust Dragons, right, the tough dragons, the neutral ones. But something like, I suppose, Black Dragons, Gold Dragons, that would be pretty decent as well. Okay, and the last one that we're going to talk about here, we are going to talk about Magic Immunity. So also a really good ability, you know, quite a few units have this. You have Black Dragons, you have Magic Elementals that are completely immune to magic. Then you also have Gold Dragons that are immune to levels 1 through 4, Red and Green 1 through 3, and you know, you also have various units that are immune to certain kinds of spells, like Ifrit being immune to fire, Phoenixes as well, Titans and Giants being immune to mind spells, etc. Right? So of course, all of that is countered by the Black Orb. But the use that I want to kind of show you guys here is probably my favorite: Magic Elementals versus Fairy Dragons. So I've mentioned this in a previous video that these are basically a hard counter to Fairy Dragons, and as you guys will see here, all we've got is 8 Magic Elementals on a 1/0 Luna, right? And we're actually fighting 5 Fairy Dragons, and see, even auto combat is able to do it, losing 6 Magic Elementals, but I think we can even do better. You don't even need 1 stacks for this. The awesome thing is that the worst thing about the Fairy Dragons is their spellcasting, and they just cannot utilize it on you because you're immune to magic. And a couple of additional bonuses for why these guys are such a hard counter is they also have the multi-directional attack and no retaliation ability as well. So there we go, we only lost 4. So imagine that, with nothing but 8 Magic Elementals, 1/0 stats, we killed 5 Fairy Dragons. That is insane value, insane, right? I mean, imagine this, we got a crazy quest artifact and 2 boxes. One was all fire and the other was 20k XP. So 2 high value boxes, and this is probably a pretty high value quest as well. Okay guys, so that does it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that you learned something about some of these abilities. Do let me know in the comments below if what your favorite special ability from units is, and if you think that I should have included something in this video. And I may actually do a tier list of all of the abilities later. I was looking through them, and there are just so many creatures with so many different abilities. So here I just decided to kind of talk about my favorite ones. But in the future, you may see a tier list of all the abilities, even like the Dwarven Resist, Naga, No Retaliation, the Archmagi with their reducing mana for spellcasting, etc. Right? Alright, but on that note, I am going to end the video, so thank you guys for watching, and if you guys want to check out more Heroes 3 content, then check out my stream, link in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video, and hopefully on my stream. Peace out.